So I thought it'd be interesting to show you guys how I typically be doing my vocal chains. Now keep in mind, I'm still fairly inexperienced when it comes to this type of production. Like I've got like about a year of producing my own vocals at this point. So don't expect to call me a genius once I've shown y'all this. Now, I believe many of you guys have seen my previous videos where I typically do a lot of my instrumentals within FL Studio, but as you can see here, much of my vocal production is done in Pro Tools just because I feel like that's just more reliable for me in terms of recording. And of course, in the time as a music technology major, we mainly work with Pro Tools, and this is mainly where I learned to mix vocals. So right here, this is what my EQ looks like. I tweaked a little bit of the Mailvox 7-band preset, and I removed a little bit more low end because, as you guys can tell, I have a pretty bassy voice, so we obviously can't have that clashing with the basses in the instrumental or sub or anything. And I felt like I liked this a little bit more when I had the mids rolled down a little bit, and I kept the high frequencies how it is. And then we got the D3 compressor limiter. This is where I balance the dynamics of my vocals. I added a little bit of the ratio, threshold, gain, and I guess also release in the vocal compressor. Then we got the D3 de-esser, and I have the male de-esser preset for this one, and I adjusted the range of it a little bit. And then I like to use Maxime to take the compression a little bit further and adjust the threshold and the ceiling. And then I like to use Lo-Fi, which is where I typically add some saturation to my voice. So for tuning, I took a little bit of inspiration from Lena Leon, which, by the way, great singer, great vocal producer. I highly encourage you guys to check her out. But one of her suggestions or tips was to use Auto-Tune and Melodyne together. So I often like to use Auto-Tune to kind of figure out which take is the best and then try to get those pitches completely centered in Melodyne. And then this is where it gets interesting. These are the buses I have. Bus 1 and 2 is typically for my reverb. I like to use the church reverb and edit it to my heart's content. Bus 3 and 4 is typically my stereo delay. This is where I use the delay, the dual 1/8 note dotted. That's where my voice echoes from left to right, if you guys know what I'm talking about. And then bus 5 and 6, I typically like to add some chorus to my voice. I like to use the slow mono, and then all those buses can be controlled from over here with this fader. Here is what the main vocal sounds like. Feels like every day we go through endless growing pains. I also sometimes like to test my falsetto a little bit and record an octave. Feels like every day we go through endless growing pains. And then if we layer those two things together, feels like every day we go through endless growing pains. Still it's something that we're willing to endure. I'm gonna be real here, I probably could have done more in terms of layering these vocals, but the thing is, I feel like if I ever want to record doubles, then it should just be doubles. And if I want to record an octave, it should just be an octave, because I feel like in the past, whenever I've tried to do doubles and octaves together, it was really hard to keep it balanced in the mix. I feel like once we get to the layers, once we come out of the verse and into the hook, which is mainly where the layers come in, I just feel like that ends up making my vocals sound way louder than it should be. And just trying to balance all those and make sure that you guys can still hear the octaves and the doubles together, I just feel like it's really hard to have it allow you guys to hear every aspect of the layers that are happening in this song without having it sounding all cluttered up or whatever. So anyway, that's just how I feel when it comes to this stuff. So there you have it. Hopefully that provides a little bit more insight on how I like to do my vocals, and talk to you guys next time.